Okay, everyone, it is our last This Week in Crypto of the year. I'm here with the founder of Santiment, Maxim.
It's not necessarily quiet in the market, and I think you mentioned it last time, we can mention it today around New Year and or Christmas time. There are always period of high volatility, uh, less liquidity, less participants, so not necessarily less desire to make some profits for those who
Mhm.
stay in the market. So they expose both directions. They explore. Can we push it lower? Can we push it higher? Can we liquidate those? So it's always around New Year. I never trade. Well, generally last years don't trade, or I do sometimes signals on Sana. But New Year there will be probably well, it's high risk, high reward, but high risk. Remember, can go in
Yeah.
both ways many
Yeah.
times a week. Yeah.
I remember last year was a good year, right? Because 2022 was so awful
Yeah,
that 2023 was a bit of a rebound year, but it was
yeah.
still nothing compared to this year. 2024
Mhm.
was historic, one of the best 3 years we've had in crypto.
Mhm.
Recently, if we look back to 2021 and 2017, which were also massive bull markets, we saw the
Yeah,
same thing, which we were saying, I think, in our last This Week in Crypto. Prices do tend to get a little choppy at the very end of the year when taxes come into play and there's a lot of factoring in for next year and prepping. So I think that might be what's going on. It's a little regression to the mean and a little bit of whales, taking care of their legal expenses.
yes, yes, definitely. And of course, there are enough professional players, much more than before, who know what's going on and they just want run. I don't know how exactly they're running it, but probably they're assuming calculating, say, okay, whatever people earned, they need to realize profits and then try to front run
Right.
and
Yeah,
maybe put some short positions. I don't know. There are enough people playing now complicated games, so just keep it in mind.
definitely. Now we have some windows prepared here. We're going to kick it off by looking
Nice red
at,
window.
yeah, it's funny because
Yeah.
this is the past week of price performances, and BitGet token and their merger has really dominated the price action, while everything else kind of looks dwarfed because of it. But you do see Bitcoin here down 3.2%, Ethereum down 2.3%,
Mhm.
very modest losses. You can see Hyperliquid here, which had a huge week last week, as a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
people
yeah.
were talking about it. So it's retraced
Still
now.
talking. Actually, I do think Hyperliquid, from what I see, it's still a lot of in talks and
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of activities on chain and social. Yeah.
Yeah, this could very well just be a regression to the mean temporarily because it was on such a hot streak in mid December.
Yeah.
Aptos here had a huge drop as well. And then on the other side, besides BitGet tokens merger, we still see a few assets like Virtual up 45%, Move up 26%, OKB up a modest 11%. But for the most part, Maxim, we were talking about this, social volume has just dropped off a cliff. There is much less discussion. Part of that is, I'm sure, the
Yeah.
holidays, people
Yeah.
taking a break from crypto a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit. But I
Yeah.
also think there's some fatigue that's trickling in right now. What do you think on that?
Yeah, it's normal. Yeah, normal. Or undecisiveness. There are a lot of talks, of course, about. Actually, now there is a mixed talks. I've seen today and yesterday the first time when people seriously talking about even 60, 65 Ks about Bitcoin. Haven't seen it for a long time. But mostly still dominant topics. So it's short correction will go up. And then there are some talks, oh, we can go down. So most of the people probably don't simply know what to do. And if you're in the profits, you don't do anything, which we will see in one of the metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, which, as a matter of fact, if it doesn't change, it becomes dangerous a little bit. But yeah, what do you play now? What do you play? Bitcoin, Ethereum? Okay, you can play Ethereum. I think not so many people playing anyway anymore. And then all this, yeah, hype, maybe hype, some meme coins. It's actually not so many tokens you can play. There are a lot of meme coins, but they're on so small market cap, you don't even notice it, or like you or me. I know
Right.
that there is a lot of things going on, but they're too small. So like on a big level, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano, which people make jokes of, and I don't know, Solana, Ton. I don't
Chainlink.
see much
Yeah.
activity. Chainlink, yeah. So people, the game played, good news came. Maybe too good, so that it's enough for the top. We'll see short term, long term, and now what to do? Yeah, if it's a long term top, okay, and we start keep sliding down, we will see more talks when people start getting worried. But at the moment, they're neither worried or neither excited. Excitement was before, worries maybe in front. So now it's fatigue. So I don't do anything. I'm still in profit. It might change. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. It does seem like people are kind of sitting on their hands, as they say,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
having analysis paralysis, decision paralysis, just
Yes.
not
Yes.
sure which direction to go at the moment. And on top of the social volume being so down, the trading volume backs it up. 64% less volume
Yeah. Yeah.
compared to a week ago. That's a massive, massive drop. So this
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean markets are going down. Volume is just volume. It's really what whales are doing, and the price will be following their path for the most part.
Mhm.
And then it's also about what the crowd is doing, as Maxim's talking about, and how prices will go the opposite direction of how
Mm.
the crowd is kind of leaning right now, because the retail traders normally get it wrong. Prices move the opposite direction of the crowd's expectations. So what we're going to dive into now is some of the metrics that show how the crowd is leaning right now. There are a few things we can look up. I want to do this one first because this is what we prepped
Okay.
right before the call. Here we're looking at round numbers. This is a variation of what you
Mhm.
were showing me, Maxim. Anywhere
Mhm.
between 101K to 120K. All of the mentions are here in blue. And then we have anything between
So okay, cool. So extended.
70 to 90. I just did every single round number um, with 20 each to keep it even. And we have shared axis on. So you can see the mentions are actually quite even between these two different halves. So the price right now is sitting at 94. Notice how we're not including the ones between 90 and 100. So we're only looking at prices that are either a bit above where we are now or a bit below where we are now. And this gives us a good idea of which way the crowd is leaning as we sit here in the mid 90s. So typically, when we see big blue bars, this is indicative of potential tops because the crowd is looking ahead. They're kind of fantasizing about how high crypto can go. You know, right here, for example, this was where Bitcoin was just about to hit 100K. So everyone was getting very excited about it. And here, this was actually when it was about to hit its all time high of about 108.3K. So you'll see big blue bars here as people are talking about 110 or 115. And then right here, back on November 10th, right after Trump got elected, this is when a lot of people weren't believing that we could keep going up. And we were still seeing a lot of mentions of 70 to 90K because it didn't seem realistic to people that we would suddenly see new all-time highs. And that ended up being what happened. We just kept going up, up, up. So in short, you want to be a little cautious when there's high blue bars like this, 101 to 120K mentions, and a little more optimistic when the crowd is getting pessimistic and mentioning 70 to 90. Right now, if we make it a little more granular, I'm just going to go to the last week and separate these by 2 hours. It looks like we saw a little bit of greed trickling in right after Christmas. Notice how the dip buy crowd was out right after this big drop. This was literally hours after Christmas ended, UTC time. And then we started to see a little more bias toward the red side. And even right now, after this dip, Maxim, it still looks like it's pretty high in the red. Um, I'm I'm interested to see where we go from here, but there seems to be a slight lean toward uh, prices going lower. So the dip buy enthusiasm is not very high right now, and that's a good thing. That means we're more likely to bounce as we hit the end of the year here.
Yeah, just keep in mind it's um, rather new. It's not a new tool. We have it for years, but the way we try to now bring it into our framework or analysis, it's quite new. So we're
Still
still
experimental.
experimental,
Yeah, yeah.
and we'll definitely not rely only on this. We'll always combine with something else. And about the something else, I think Brian, how you will tell. But it's obviously, in our opinion, it's worth using it. Like you, or some people using Google Trends.
Mm-hmm.
Here you have crypto trends based on crypto-related sources,
Yeah, you
which
can
we
use
keep
it.
increasing. Yeah, which we
You
keep
can.
increasing, and this tool is actually the only one which has access to our constantly increasing set of Twitter accounts we're monitoring scraping inside the metrics like social volume and dominance. If you do it from Sunbase, we don't include new data due to like immutability. We want to keep those who use algorithmic trading, so it stays the same set of accounts. But here, whenever we add a few dozen, few hundreds new Twitter accounts, we have new data, we'll include it here. That's why actually playing with this data is cool.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, there are so many possibilities on how you can really use it. And you could go really complex like that last chart here, or you could try something more simple and just look at how often people are buying the crypto dip, which is what this illustrates. And we can see both social volume
Yeah.
and then dominance, which is the percentage of discussions related to that versus all the other discussions. And you can see pretty clearly this was the big dip that everyone got excited about, and that ended up being somewhat true, even though we went just a little lower in September. And then we saw a few more minor dips on December 9th and then December 18th that people got a little too excited about. And generally speaking, the true dip to buy is when no one is mentioning that dip. So what we're looking for now is to keep these bars low as a good sign that the crowd is kind of giving up and they believe we're about to drop a lot. And then ultimately that would increase the likelihood of us going up instead of down. So, yeah, socially, it looks like people are kind of a little fearful, which is a good sign. They're certainly not like FOMOing in and trying to buy the dip in masses right now, and that's a good thing. Now, the next thing that we wanted to show was the whale situation as well as the small retail behavior. And we'll start with these four lines. Maxim, this is 0.001, 0.001 to 0.01, 0.01 to 0.1, and 0.1 to 1 BTC wallets. So they're the smallest tiers that we
Yeah.
track, and they're all moving down. They've been moving down really since the bull market started here in
Most of them build moving, yeah.
yeah. And even the yellow one, which is interesting, this is the second smallest. They had like this big accumulation here right at the all-time high. And then they realized, oh crap, we bought too much. And then they started to dump instead, which is interesting because this bright green line is showing the 10 plus BTC wallets. So the sharks and the whales all combined together, whether they're on exchanges or not, they continue to move up and moving up pretty aggressively. I still like the long-term look of this quite a bit. Ever since October 11th and 12th, when everyone else started to dump, the whales and sharks started to accumulate, and we saw pretty good price performances immediately as that started to happen. So the trend really has not stopped. And I like the look of this a lot as a good long-term vote of confidence for those of you who are being patient, just kind of letting the volatility do its thing. It looks like whales and sharks are just collecting more and more coins heading into 2025.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, since we're talking about long term, I want to show mean dollar invested age.
Oh, yeah.
And put it right on the same chart here. I'm just going to take off all of these.
Okay.
So we have the whales and sharks here still, and then mean dollar invested age has been moving down. It started to flatten out a little just in the last 3 days, but this is still a very good long-term indicator that the average age of Bitcoins in wallets is getting younger and younger, Maxim.
Yeah.
So this is a good sign. And, you know, if we go back in time, we go to like 2017, ignore the green going off the axis here. It doesn't matter right now. I'm just showing the pink, which clearly shows that these big bull markets all really occur as the mean dollar invested age is getting younger, because it means that dormant coins that had been just sitting in these whale wallets are circulating back into supply and allowing retail traders and whoever else to start exchanging them at a rapid pace. And that's what really propels prices forward. So we've really been seeing consistent drops going all the way back to November 2023, 13 months ago. So we dropped here, you know, we hit that all-time high of what was it, like 75 or 73. And then we started to flatten a little bit, even went up for a short period of time. And then boom, we get this second bull market about a month before Trump is elected. And the prices just skyrocket from there. And besides that, you know, what's interesting right now is the supply and exchanges for Bitcoin continues to move down, while Tether and USD coin, let me zoom in a little bit more here, they're moving up quite rapidly. You can see Tether throughout this bull market has been much higher. USDC has actually gone down a little bit more, but I think this is still a pretty good trend. You're rooting for Bitcoin to continue moving away from exchanges and dry powder / stable coins to keep moving on to exchanges. And for the most part throughout this rally, that's what we've seen. I'm actually a little concerned about the 2-week drop in USDC, but it still looks pretty good overall. Funding rate too is another important one. We see, let's just look at BitMEX by itself for a minute. So BitMEX is completely flat. It's not really doing much at all. Binance is also completely flat. So this kind of confirms what you're saying, Maxim. People really are kind of just sitting and waiting, and they're not sure what to do. We saw a lot of greed here around the first week of December, and then a week later we started a retrace. So you really just want to avoid seeing these big bright green bars that are super high, because that indicates there's more longs than shorts on exchanges, and longs are actually paying shorts just to open those margin and leverage long positions. And that's where we tend to see tops and liquidations that send the price down. What we want to see are a lot of red bars like these back here. This was right where that bottom was in early September, where a lot of people were betting against the price of Bitcoin. And then we suddenly see short liquidations that push the prices up. So right now, sitting at neutral, people are kind of sitting and waiting. All right. Some other things. This is one of your templates that I had pulled up. Stable coins. Do you want to maybe say a few words about these tiers, 10 to 100K?
Yeah, you know, and I think you mentioned also a few times by yourself, in the scope of our frameworks, we have few of them, to understand market behavior where we are now, is those who are holding 10, 100,000 of stable coins, USDC, they tend to show specific behavior as well. They will be either deploying the dry powder, so you will see here a decrease of the balances stable coins, and it typically, like we've seen, like you see exactly on the chart, happens in later stages. Sometimes or early stages too, they might buy into first dip, saying, okay, this is the dip, so they might decrease the stable coins. But the moment they start increasing it, so it shows that, okay, I'm not so sure anymore, I need to accumulate more. And then they will deploy this capital once the market really grows. So then we like to understand in which mode they are. They're still kind of buying the dip, so it's not the best side. Probably we need to see if you really want to play safe. Then what Brian just said a few minutes ago, cool to see some red funding rates. So people start believing, okay, it's a profitable to short market, good. Then second confirmation would be those holding stable coins start increasing it. So they either sell, realize profits, or borrow it in expectation that they will deploy it later on, but not now. So there are one active when funding rates they want to short, and this one kind of inactive. Okay, I don't deploy my stable coins, I increase. So it shows us like growing concern of the market, and definitely the more signs you see, the better. Panic is the best. If you see the panic, and there are some metrics, but this one doesn't show the panic, but it shows enough for you to understand, are you in the safe side if you go in long or short?
Right.
And at the moment, if you go long, not really safe side, it can go lower if you look into it.
Yeah. I'm completely in agreement with you. It does look a little concerning to see these going down. Um, it's just a lot of neutral metrics right now as we head to the close of the year. It's indecision, a little bit of analysis paralysis, and kind of waiting for the new year to begin. And with that said, I also wanted to show, what some of the trending words are right now. People are talking about the end of the year. Pengu is still up there. The BGB and BitGet merge. And that's really it. Tether here is at the end. This is often coming up when it's a little bit of FUD in the markets. Tether and stablecoins really aren't talked about too much unless there's controversy with them and people are concerned with their solvency and things like that. But right now it looks like they're just being mentioned in relation to Binance, Bybit, KuCoin, some of the biggest exchanges in the world. Active trading speculation involving USDT. Yeah, it doesn't even look like it's really about controversy, just people that are moving a lot of stable coins at the moment. And by the way, Maxim, the last post I put out before I went to sleep last night was about
I was still in kind of hidden mode as dashboard. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so First Digital USD is just dominating some of the biggest transactions of the past 36 hours or so. I put this out 12-ish hours ago. So like a $50 million FDUSD move to Binance. This was 2.3% of the entire market cap, by the way.
So probably some farming points campaign, something like this.
You nailed it. That's exactly right. So partly for the bio protocol launch pool in order to farm the altcoin. But regardless, when this dashboard is being dominated by stablecoin deposits, it's a strong sign that whales are gearing up for some purchasing. So this can be good. We just need to see a little more of that trend, especially from the bigger stablecoins like Tether and USD Coin. But I'm still encouraged by stuff like this. When I just randomly open the crypto deposits radar to look at the biggest centralized exchange deposits, and it's just littered by stable coins rather than altcoins, that means that these whales are gearing up for something that has to do with purchasing rather than selling. So that's a good sign. So yeah, I like the sound of that. This one here I put out a couple days ago on Christmas, actually. So this was right as we were peaking at about 99K Bitcoin. And we suddenly saw this big mention in 110K compared to 190. And I'm using social dominance instead of social volume for this illustration. you can see the previous times, even back here where we saw a lot of mentions of 110, every one of those times we saw a top shortly after. And right here, as
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were still mentioning 110 as we were falling, we just continued to fall because of that. And then all of a sudden we saw this big spike once again. And right after, spoiler alert, we've fallen down. So we're back around 94 here now. And now we're not seeing as much mentions of 110, which is good. But look out for those spikes of future numbers that are higher uh, than what the current price is. They typically reflect greed, as we've been talking about.
Classic. Yeah.
And even right here, so this was, oh yeah, this is just showing the specific tier that really has been accumulating. The
Yeah.
10 to 1,000 tier has really propelled this
Okay.
bull market. And you can see how they've been climbing. Um, Interestingly, the 1,000 plus one, they've actually been dropping quite a bit, which is interesting. But that's going to be mostly exchange wallets, from what we've kind of gathered. So that's a find that I thought was worth sharing as well. And then one more is the activity matrix here. If we go to the detailed look, so all these squares indicate how hot the network is versus how cold it is. Red squares indicate that we're seeing way more network activity than usual. Blue is way less than usual. And we see a few assets stand out. Frax is up there, Blue Zell, a lot of obscure coins.
Well,
Shala,
Frax is a fine. I mean, the
Yeah,
need to fight back. There is so much competition on stablecoin.
right. And Stargate is up there too. They're seeing a lot of hot activity. But it looks like for the most part, things have cooled off. When we were looking at this a month ago, or even 2.5 weeks ago, everything here was red, meaning they were getting way more network activity than you typically will see. So things have cooled off considerably, pretty much due to the passivity that we've been talking about on this call. And right now, if you are looking for a few assets that are getting higher than usual activity still, Chainlink is the one that most notably stands out to me. They're actually up there, and we can take a look at it in just a moment. But Chainlink's up there. The rest are kind of outside the top 100. LivePeer is up there. Stargate. Yeah, these are really obscure. Convex, which I haven't checked out in quite a while. Maybe we can look at Chainlink for a moment, Maxim, because I know there's a lot of Link fans in our audience.
Oh yeah, also they quite active on either them or Link Marines in Reddit.
Oh yeah, always.
This that colors, yeah.
So let's see what's going on for Chainlink at the moment. The transaction volume, we saw the big spike here on December 20th. This was clearly a lot of people dip buying after the big drop here.
Looks like a very nice setup for classic head and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Pattern.
And
Yeah. Actually,
describe
in
what
quite a few tokens, yeah.
describe what Head and Shoulders is for those unfamiliar. How would people want to react to that?
Well, it's the funny thing is, or not funny, challenging part. It can become kind of reverse cup and handles, so it can go like there is a price here on the left side, then it goes up, and then it goes down and come to the same like it was on the left side. So, and it's in decisive moment. It can, like, if it go down, like a crash similar the same distance like from the top, and if it goes down, it can go up quite a lot. And it's not a simple one to decide which one is playing around. There is one kind of hint when reading on the forums or on the Telegram channels on Reddit less. You see what people are bringing up. Are they bringing a reversed cup and handle, or just cup and handle, or they talking about head and shoulders? And then whatever they're talking mostly about will not play. Something else will play. So, but I didn't have time to check what people are saying in the forums. So it's still open question what is playing now. But from looking into it, yeah. Anyway, we'll see. Let's see other metrics. You see, here's also, if you take coming the price to the top, you will see how nicely this divergence here formed too, which we talked about just before the stream. This
Yeah.
price were pushing up, and many metrics start to lagging. And Chainlink is one of the heavily discussed and traded. If you would not the top 5, but still obviously top 50. It's, whenever many people involved, these patterns will be behavior patterns will be very visible. And I usually say, inform myself too that try to understand if you're using this approach on coins, on assets which are massive. There is a lot of people participating. Then there will be patterns will be clear. Otherwise, they can be manipulated, or no market makers will can play it out. When there are many people's playing, it's difficult. Yeah. And Chainlink is, you see, still very strong divergence actually.
Right. So the divergence that Maxim's referring to, you see a final spike in daily active addresses here, and then it really drops off rapidly. And we're back to our lowest level since the very beginning of November. So that's a sign that we may still need to retrace a little bit more. Of course, Chainlink's going to be dependent on Bitcoin's own performance, but as of now, it seems as though a lot of people are just transacting the asset a lot less than usual. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Even right here, when price was going up, but active addresses was starting to shrink, that was a sign that we might be topping.
This is exactly. This is actually set up for exiting, or if you like a risky game for shorting. But yeah, when you see price keep pushing up, and major metrics, network activity, network growth, trading volume, social dominance start diverging going down, and you see it not on one asset, on several one. I think we covered last week. This is where you should be very, very, very cautious, because I've seen it many times. This time is the top thing.
Agreed. Now, what is encouraging is the fact that the 30-day MVRV is way back in negative territory, negative 7.7% on average. So if you bought Chainlink right now or added onto your position, you'd be doing so with less risk than usual on a short-term basis. However, on a long-term basis, people are still up about 32% over the past year. So it's kind of, depending on your strategy, there might be a small window where you could get a bounce here, but on a longer term, you might need to wait until average returns drop back close to 0% again before you'd feel safe doing so to hold for a long period of time. And then funding rate, just like Bitcoin, there's not much going on BitMEX or Binance. They're both pretty flat. A little more whale transaction activity than I would have expected on Christmas. Big spike, actually. And it looks like, let's check the supply distribution, but it seems like there might be some profit taking going on. I'd say sharks would start about here, 1K to 10K. Yeah, these don't look too bad. It looks like some of the bigger tiers are moving up. If I just combine them all, we'll get rid of 1K actually. That's a little bit small, but this is kind of the sharks and whales all together.
Just keep in mind the bigger wallets they're finding, they showed in the past many times they're buying early because they can hold longer time. So for them, I don't take them as a buy signal when we experience first dips. But the panic or heavily decrease in holding of small players, that could be a good sign.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, it looks like the small wallets are actually pretty aggressively accumulating, while the larger ones are actually starting to decline over the past 2.5 weeks. So I'd be a little worried about this actually. It's weird they had this big drop here on the 21st, but now they're just accumulating aggressively again. Yeah, the past 6 months, it's interesting. The small wallets have really accumulated quite a bit. If we go back in time, yeah, so it started to look a little better for Chainlink beginning right around that crash in August. Let me add the price too. So once they started to turn it around right here, the yellow line went up and so did price. Uh, this was like a classic dump by the whales as the retail small wallets were accumulating. And then they finally started to accumulate a bit here, go down a little bit. And this was the point in which it started to look really good. And then starting around December 10th or 11th, they've started to drop again. So I'm a little worried about that as well, especially with the aggressive accumulation by the small wallets right now.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
They got attracted by all this good news.
Probably, yeah. There has been quite a bit of good news for Chainlink.
Yeah.
And this is good news too. It looks like mean dollar invested age is still dropping pretty rapidly.
Okay.
So dormant coins moving back into circulation for Chainlink, always a good sign. Lots of realized profits as well. Supply and exchanges, look at the interesting pattern. I don't know if this is something that is designed with Chainlink's economy, but there seems to be a lot of fluctuations of huge exchange flow balances all at once moving to exchanges, and then it just gradually drops off again, and then it just does it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, looks like some unlocks are coming directly into exchange.
It must be, yeah.
Yeah.
Social dominance. Actually, Chainlink's not being talked about nearly as much now. It's starting to fade in terms of social interest. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means it's a little off the radar at the moment. And then the last thing with Chainlink that we can look at is just the overall positive versus negative sentiment ratio. Let's zoom in here just to the last 3 months. We'll make this just daily. Yeah, not much in terms of positive sentiment. It's quite low right now. In fact, there's more. I wouldn't say more, but it's very close between positive and negative sentiment right now. Both are quite low at the moment. So the negative sentiment is actually a good sign. People might be expecting Chainlink at this point to just keep dropping lower. And that's a good sign that we may see a short-term bounce coming up as soon as later today, if Bitcoin can have a bit of a rebound itself. All right. Any other topics that you may want to cover here, Maxim? Specific coins? No. Okay.
Well, I think the same. We haven't seen yet big liquidations on DeFi, which is always or historically since we introduced it and expanded it to all major protocols. Do you have this chat layout?
I don't know. If you can find it in the background, link me really quick.
I have. Let me. Is this one? No. Let me see if it's Explorer. Chat layouts recently viewed. I checking it. Yeah. So I'll drop you on Discord. Yeah.
Yep.
In our internal team channel. Yeah.
Got it.
So if I'm talking about the looking is bottom in, not in. Historically, we always liked scroll down. There are a lot of data here. This one is just general like price of the money. Go down, there will be liquidations. Yeah, it's how much people pay to borrow money. Yeah. Okay, next one stats. No, next one.
Right here?
Exactly. So yeah, so you want to see in the bottoms, as historically you've seen like in the summer, quite heavy like clusters of liquidations, because this will obviously introduce some level of fear, of concern in the market, and people will be reluctant to go leverage long or talk too much, and this is a good time to go into. So we've seen one liquidation. If we see a few more now, let's say we go below 90K and we see plenty of liquidation, it will be a good setup. Just to add you to the toolbox, what you should be looking for when you measure, okay, is this really opportunity or is just a time when I look into market, don't do anything? If there is enough on-chain and social metrics confirming risk is being already addressed by those who were over-leveraged or over-risky. And this metric liquidations on major DeFi protocols, it's a very good one. Sometimes it comes right in when you see cluster. Sometimes it recovers and then go lower, but still, if you look into it carefully, it's provided quite a few good signals.
Yeah, it has. I mean, there's great bottom signals here, and I think this is a very valuable specific chart for finding where those bottoms are, especially when there's just multiple different protocol liquidations all happening at once, like we saw.
Across all protocols.
Exactly. So August 4th was the biggest. We see plenty right around the second bottom in early September. And then as recently as December 20th, we saw that big drop followed by tons of
good, yeah.
Yeah. I'll save this chart. I think this is a good one for me to update on regularly.
Yeah. It doesn't happen. I mean, it happens like 4 or 5 times a year, and then it's important. Which is the definition of a good signal. If it doesn't fire too often, it's quite a good one.
Yeah. It means it's more mid, long term.
I mean, it doesn't happen so often, but sometimes markets work very fast. I usually say from now on in 2 weeks, we should be much higher than we are now.
Now, what's the difference between these two charts? Do you know? So this one is liquidation.
Sometimes I think on one of the charts I can buy everything, and another chart I say, okay, only liquidation of wrapped ETH. On another one below will be wrapped PTC. So I just look from different angles what exactly was liquidated.
Makes sense. Yeah. This is cool.
Yes. And then there are a few the lower part, as I recently got interest. This one, I still don't know if it has value, but the lower ones, it's activity on Aave and or let's say it's wrapped it in Ethereum if the people borrow it or not. Assumption was maybe borrowed to short it. I'm not sure anymore. And here's like a 14. I'm trying to see what kind of patterns we can discover there. As it's quite sizable, I think, amount of USDE. It's 5 billion at the moment, which is big enough. And they have a third season of points, so people might be not aware that points, but the market moves a lot, amount of collateral or loss of value of what you're doing, they might be much more than the points you're on. And it's interesting to observe how the actual market trends. Do they withdraw, do they deposit, and what is an average or current reward rates or yield on Ethereum. So that will be used as the last two charts. But it's experimental because I started to pay attention to it only a few months ago. Quite high, yeah, 24%. You could go, or 27, up to 27.
Yeah, that's
yield
huge
for stablecoins.
Wow.
At that time, look on a normal one, you look back, say, wait a second, 27% on just having a stable coin, not bad.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this chart with all of us, Maksim. I think it's cool to see some new perspectives on all of the other things that Santiment offers that many of us don't even know about. It's like we say, what we share on these streams and videos, they're tip of the iceberg in terms of what's possible and what's discoverable. So by all means, when you're watching this, guys, feel free to share in the comments videos or chart templates, I should say, that you find interesting that maybe we should have more on our radar, and we'd love to look more into it with you. But as always, our X feed is full of insights on a daily basis that I'm putting out. Of course, insights.santiment.net as well. If you just go to our insights button, it's all of the same news stories that we're putting out on social media.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're ending the year in kind of a neutral territory. I don't know if we're going to really see much other than flat performance unless some
No, no,
new.
no. I think volatility is always around the year. We will
Yeah.
go now down and then up and again down. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm
The
talking
question,
more on like
like,
where the next
where
couple of
we'll end
weeks we might still be in the mid 90Ks is what I think. You don't think so?
easily. No, no, easily we can. Even though I have still, based on few metrics, hope I didn't give them up that will make a new all-time high, if even the short-lived in Bitcoin. But it might well be we just stay in the range, wide range between 80 and 105. You just go widely between.
Yeah.
Very possible.
I could see that happening. I could. It's definitely going to be more volatile this final week, but um, where we end up may be just treading water. Even though we were going
Exactly.
like this and now we're going like this, it still might be the end result might be sideways. So
Yeah, and then you say, why haven't I spent time on nature with my family? Nothing happened anyway.
if the whales are spending times with their family, maybe we should be doing the same. So.
Yeah, true.
Well, brother Max, thank you for another wonderful year at Santiment. We all appreciate it, and we're excited to see what comes in 2025. Um,
Yes,
and for everyone watching, just be safe, trade carefully, and monitor the trends along with us as we head into a new year.
Brian, thanks for navigating regularly, constantly, almost every Friday.
Of
And
course.
yeah, wish you
Thanks.
a nice start into the year and have a good time and talk to you again soon.
You as well, Maxim. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you next time.